All right, guys, let's make some R&B right inside of FL Studio using nothing but the stock plugins. I'll guide you guys step by step. The only thing I recommend for R&B is to get a MIDI controller if you guys are looking for a good one. One's called the FL Key 37 by Novation. I'm using a different one here, but it's very durable. It's down there on the floor. Okay, so firstly, we're going to plug that in. Let me go over the chords. We're going to tap out the tempo here. Let's right click, tap out the tempo. We're going to make it somewhere around 83 BPM. Let's turn the metronome on, and I turn these buttons on. The ones you see highlighted, 3, 2, 1 button, this little overdub button, and the typing keyboard button if you guys need that. Okay, so first thing is mapping out the chords. Let's go to the channel rack here. Click the plus button, go to where it says flex, and I believe you need the newer versions of FL to have access to all of the flex sounds. But if you go to where it says store or the get tab, you want to look for where it says essential pianos, essential guitar, and essential winds, and essential brass. Download all of these. Okay, so you should see it in your library here. Or excuse me, essential bass guitars, essential pianos, essential strings, and essential winds is what I meant to say. Okay, so now you have all these downloaded. Go to where it says essential bass. My favorite preset so far is called the 5-string New Rock Dynamic. It has a nice tone to it. So I play this as if it's like a Stratocaster or something like this. So what I like to do is click on it. I turn off all the effects down here. Just hit the power button on these. Now it's a little low, so I'm going to pull this up plus 12. You can read the value in the top left handle in the hint panel. Let's turn this up to plus 1200 cents. So you get like a tone like this. And here's the chord progression we're going to start with. But we're going to play it more like a realistic guitarist, which is more like doop, 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 down, like that. Okay, so let me show you guys that chord. So it sounds cool. I'm not going to get too deep into theory because you guys are beginners. So you guys can get these project files for free if you go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. The first chord here is called a minor chord. I'm not going to like belabor you with the music theory teaching because I have music theory courses at busyworksbeats.com. This is called a minor chord. And the top note here, this is called an add 9 because if I were to play what's called the 7th, it would sound like this, which is a nice sound. But we're just omitting what's called the 7th here. All right, so it creates that like R&B tone. So this is the first chord. The second chord is B flat, okay? And then we're playing B flat twice, so it's B flat. So this would be 0, 1. This is a major chord, B flat major. And then we're playing the same root note up an octave. And then we're just going to move down. All right, so again, I'm skipping a lot of theory, but this is another add 9 chord, a minor add 9 chord. We're just here at F because, man, I almost went theorized on you guys. Basically, F to C is called a perfect fifth. These are 7 notes away, so that's why these work so well. F and C is 7 notes away. Okay, so we're using the same chord type basically, and we're just doing that add 9 chord. So these are the chords, but we're going to play them like a real guitarist would play them. So let's go back to song mode. Let's hit record, and let's record something in the playlist. Tempo's a little fast, kind of messed up my playing style, but it's all good. We're going to double click in here, hit Alt Q to quantize. Now some notes we want to be really short, some notes we want to be long. Now here I hit the wrong note. It should be dented. This should be C. I think even this chord I played wrong because I was moving so fast. So here we're just going to correct these notes. All right, right, so now we have that cool sound. Now there's other things we could do. Let me see if Flex has an envelope. I guess no. So never mind. Forget what I was going to tell you guys. But let's try to see if Chorus adds anything to it. So let's pull up this effect called Chorus. It has like that 90s nostalgic sound. So I like the chorus. I don't want it to be too chorusy. So somewhere around 25% will be fine. Let's hit Control L, send this to the mixer. So now we have our chords. We're going to build in the 4 components that I teach a lot. This will be the harmony component. This is where we add the chords. The top line is where we add the top line melody, meaning the memorable melody. The contrast layers where we add the bass line. The rhythm sections where we add the drums. So we're 1/4 of the way into our song. Now technically this top line, this harmony could be considered a top line because it plays melodically. It plays the notes one by one. I didn't play them like this. Okay, so I played them like spread apart. So it sounds more like a melody. So we can consider that a top line for now, but we can also add a top line sound. Now let's go back to Flex and let's see what other instruments we can get. Let's see here. Let's drop this down an octave back to its original 0 cent thing. And all we're going to do is just play the bottom notes. If you guys want to, do it the fast way, you just hit Control Shift, highlight all these notes, copy these, and just paste them. I'd recommend you go to a new pattern in your channel rack, right click, and open up the piano roll, hit Control V. So all we're doing is just following that bass, the root note. Now because this bass, it does go low, it's just hard to hear. So let's turn these up a little bit. So if I want to keep the same velocity, grab the ellipses down here, pull this up, switch this control to note velocity. This determines how dynamic the note sounds. We're going to hit Alt X and pull up what's called the multiply. So I'm basically turning the bass up, but it keeps my same performance. Because that note is like very quiet. So now we have a contrast layer that fast. Let's see if we can use the same guitar to create a top line. Let's right click, hit clone, and let's use the same exact guitar. Let's just pitch this one up plus 2400 cents, which is 2 octaves. Take off the chorus, hit Control L, send it to the mixer. So now we have 3 different sounds. We have the bass. I'll label this for you guys. Here's our chord / melody. And then this top one is going to be our top line. Now it may be a melody, it may just be higher frequency textures. We'll figure out what we want to do. So here's where a MIDI controller comes in handy because I could do things like pitch bends. So let's add these little pitch bend sounds and then we'll add some effects to it. Let's turn the metronome on, hit record. Now it's very difficult to do this inside of a piano roll. Even if you clicked in the notes, it's very difficult to do these pitch changes like this. That's why I'd recommend a MIDI controller. All right, so this, let me make this bigger so you guys can see. I don't know if you guys can see, but these little lines here represent the my pitch wheel. So if you want to see this, just double click, go to the ellipses, pull this up so you see your MIDI metadata, or whatever this is technically called. Click in the top left of this window, go to where it says channel pitch, and then you can see where I've recorded these pitch bends. So this is not easy to do without a MIDI controller. It requires way too much finesse. And that's why I'd recommend a MIDI controller. So now let's add some more effects to the sound to make it more texturized. Now there's no rule for this. We're going to go to the mixer here and quickly just add Fruity Delay 3 and maybe some reverb. Let's add ping pong mode. Let's turn up the width here. Let's add some Fruity Reverb too. Let's turn the wet level. So now we're creating a tail for that small event. We're making a long-tailed sound. Let's add some more reverb here. And the cool part is we could turn up the decay curvature on the reverb. And let's cut out some of the lows. There's no rules for this step. And again, you guys will get the project files for free. So now we have a top line, a high pitched thing in the mix. So now all we need is a rhythm. What I recommend you guys do is just spend a day or two and just get a bunch of drum sounds. You guys can search Reddit, our Discord. There's 1,000 places to get drums. We're just gonna find drums that we vibe with. There's no like right or wrong drum. You guys could look up drum breaks. These usually have the texture you need for more of an R&B vibe. You just chop these breaks up. I used to not mess with drum breaks until I understood why I would use them. So let's right click, open this in Slice. For example, it will auto chop the sample by the transient, the pointy parts. And now you can go to the channel rack. Make sure you highlight this, hit Control X, because by default it inserts MIDI information. Hit Control L, send it to the mixer. And even if you don't have a MIDI controller, you can right click here, go to where it says Slice, and make sure you hit Reset. Right click here, go to Slice, and basically you could use your typing keyboard to trigger the slice chops. So now we're going to create some kind of drum rhythm from these chops here. All right, so playing them by hand's a little difficult, but we can go in here and just double click, and now we can just rearrange the chops however we want. So there's no formula for this. You know, let's just change our snap to grid to 1/4 the beat so we can vertically see these lines. And let's just hit Alt Q just to see what it sounds like. And let's hit Control L so the samples play all the way through. And then we could duplicate this over, hit Shift, left click and drag this over, hit Control to highlight. And then we could swap out these sounds. Let's say I want a kick right here. And now we can switch up these rhythms over time. So it just changes up over time, becomes less predictable. Let's click in these patterns, make these unique to create new patterns here. So at this point, you guys can just add whatever rhythm you want. Even if you want to reinforce it with some heavier drums underneath, we could use this almost as like a percussive layer. So I'm going to give you guys the project file so you don't have to memorize all this. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL-Studio. Let's say you wanted to add more like harder drums to it. So let's do boom, let's go back. Let's just add that kick underneath. Let me see if I can find like a clap we could use in here. I feel like this clap's very trappish, but we could definitely use it. See how that, I kind of like a delayed snare. how the rhythms can be a little more experimentative in R&B. And now you have a full song just that easy. So let me show you guys how to mix it. Let's go to the mixer here. I'm going to create a subgroup called a beat mix. We're going to hit Control, highlight all these, right click, and route all the sounds to this. You don't have to do it this way. This is for me to separate my vocal from the beat. So my thing is I like to highlight all the sounds and read the top left value to understand how to do this. Pull this down about 9 dB. This is going to allow me to level a little bit easier. So now I can go to this channel. We're going to add an EQ, parametric EQ2. I learned this from Lifestyle Did It. On the far left as a main level knob. Let's turn this up. So now we're still hearing it at the same like perceived volume, but we have a lot more room to level the tracks. So now if I want the drums to be louder, I can turn those up. And now I can start shaping the dynamics of the song a little bit easier. Let's turn that bass up a little bit. Let's run this through a Fruity. Now there's two different options. You could do Fruity Limiter here, or we could do Fruity Soft Clipper. For this, we're not doing trap where we need it to scream. So we're looking for more of a tape saturated sound. Don't copy these settings exactly because it changes depending on the song. But let's turn on what's called the saturation. Turn the ceiling up here. So now we're just making the drums crunch a little bit more. I'll exaggerate it so you guys can hear. So this is if you want your track to feel more filled out. And now we can level based on how much of the sound we want to sound bitey like that. So I can pull the bass back if it's too bitey. Personally, I think this is just too loud. All right, so from here, I usually do stereo width. Now, FL does not have any good stereo plugins to really show you guys, so I'm not going to mess with that here. But you can use the widening tool. It's not the perfect tool, but you could try this in the fader. If you can't find this, click this little button icon. That will turn this on and off, and your mixer has to be big enough, or else it will hide it. So you need to make sure make sure the mixer is big enough. And sometimes we don't need to widen the track. We need to actually make it more narrow. And I'd recommend doing that on individual sounds rather than the entire track. So let's do that for the chords, for example. Now from here, I might add like a texture underneath. I don't think I have any textures ready to go. So let's just type in texture, see what pops up. All right, texture. Let's just click on random stuff here. Let me pause the video to find one. All right, so I found this like rain stick texture that might be cool underneath here. You can find birds, kind of nature sounds to throw underneath your track. There's no like right answer for this. This is just to create more realism in the track. Let's pull this back, hit Control L. Make sure we route this to the beat mix, right click. I'll route all this stuff so you guys don't have to do it. I'm just gonna grab all these channels here and route these for you guys. But again, you don't have to mix this way. I'm just doing this so I can separate the vocal from the beat. And then we can add reverb on the texture if we need. So now it has like a space that it's in. All right, so let me show you guys a more advanced technique. Now this is really advanced. So at this point in this record, you know, that's pretty much all you guys need to know. I'm going to save this as a different version just in case. So if you want to get into more, what's the word? Like more modern, I guess, sound design, you could highlight everything that's tonal. So for example, that would be our chords, our bass, and a top line. Hit Control G. Okay, we're going to go to the left here and right click, consolidate from track start. So we're going to do So the reason we're doing that is because we're going to change the tempo. So let's double click, go to the audio clips. In this case, the texture at the bottom, switch the mode to stretch mode. Do the same thing up here, switch it to stretch mode. This will give it a time value, and then go back and switch it to resample mode. So now when we change the BPM, it will have a different tone. So basically, we can slow down the BPM. So that's a cool vibe. Let's speed it up just a little bit. Now we have more of a danceable vibe. Just realized I rendered it with the effects, so that's why it sounds kind of quirky. Doubled up with the drum. Now you have more of a danceable R&B. So again, you guys could try out the different tempos. Show you one more bonus technique. So we have everything grouped, and what we can do is go to the what is it called, the picker panel. If you don't see this, go to your playlist options in the top left, go to picker panel, go to enable to see all these patterns on the left. Because we compiled everything into one pattern, we can right click the actual pattern and transpose this. I like to go down 3 semitones, which is -3. Try a whole different key. So this is still maintaining the original BPM and the VSTs. And I also like to pitch it up +3 from our original. So we're gonna go up 6, so it's positive values. Try it. Let's hear it in 2 different keys. I like all the tones. This is such a good concept that it sounds good in all the tones. I'll just pull it back to the original. Let's play this twice. Let's just play it once through. All right, you just made your first R&B beat, just that simple. You guys will get the project files for free. Go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Share with a friend. Peace out, guys. Like the video, peace.